Welcome to the Nate KG Podcast, a show dedicated to exploring the nuances of jump rope, where I talk with jumpers of all skill levels, backgrounds, and fitness goals. This episode is slightly different than the others because my guest is Team USA heptathlete Chari Hawkins. You can find her on Instagram at _CHARIHAWKINS, which is Chari Hawkins. Chari uses jump rope for her training, but she's primarily focused on her sport, so we spend a little less time on jump rope specifics. However, Chari brings a lot to the table in terms of fitness knowledge and mental strengthening, so I know you all will get a lot out of this. We discuss a lot, including 7-hour workouts, using jump rope for volleyball training, the importance of recovery, pursuing progress versus perfection, and more. Just a heads up that we reference a couple of competitions that have since passed, but I would highly recommend doing a quick search or checking out the show notes because Chari is quite humble in explaining the magnitude of the championships she's competed at. And as usual, you can check out the show notes over at natekg.com. And without further ado, please enjoy this conversation with Chari Hawkins. Chari, how's it going? Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So I think a cool place to kind of get started would be to give some people a little bit of context on your background, because you are quite an accomplished athlete. And we have a lot of stuff to talk about. So can you kind of talk about where you started with athletics, where you're at now, and where you're from?
Yeah, so I'm from Rexburg, Idaho, and I've been doing sports my whole life. My dad is a basketball coach, and so basically since I was born, I had a basketball in my hand. So I love to play basketball, volleyball. I did gymnastics all growing up, but it was not ever really for me just because I'm the youngest of 5, and all of my siblings did sports. And so I kind of found my own identity in track and field because I started doing it and none of my siblings did it. So I thought to myself, hey, this is mine. And when you have 5 siblings, I guess I have 4 because there's 5 of us total, but when there are 5 siblings in a family, like, you kind of search for your own identity, especially as the youngest, because, you know, you don't want to just follow in your siblings' footsteps. You kind of want to make your own path. So I did track and field and I fell in love with it. It was kind of nice because though my dad's an amazing coach, he knows a lot about a lot of sports, but he didn't know that much about track. So it was kind of one of those things where I got to teach him, or he didn't. I didn't have to worry. Yeah, I didn't have to worry about him being my coach because I got to, do my own thing.
Be independent and stuff.
Yeah. And then, I went to college for it. And when I graduated, I kind of knew that I wasn't finished. So I found my way to Santa Barbara, California, England, and now I'm in San Diego doing the heptathlon, which is 7 different events for track and field. And
which events are in it?
So it's hurdles, high jump, shot put, 200, and that's all in day 1. And then day 2 is long jump, javelin, and the 800 is where we finish.
No big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's really fun, and it's kind of like perfect for me because I've always been just kind of like a jack of all trades kind of a thing. So it keeps it really interesting. I have for sure, I undiagnosed. I diagnosed myself with ADHD, but so it's the perfect ADHD sport when you can't focus on one thing. You kind of get to try them all. So,
nice.
I just got my invitation to Doha World Championships, which is something I've been, I didn't think I would actually ever get there. I think it was one of those things where I hoped that I could maybe someday if I got a lot better in my wildest dreams, but I never really thought that I would get here. And now I sit here just being wow, I can't believe I just got that invitation. So heading to Doha soon, and now I'll stop talking because I've been talking for 20 minutes straight.
It's all good. I'm curious, can we talk a little bit about your pursuits and your accomplishments in competition, just to give some context, because you're, again, I said very accomplished athlete, but I kind of want to put a little marker on that with exactly where you've been and what you've done.
Right. So I qualified for the Olympic trials when I was in 2016, when I was fresh out of college. But I didn't really make any statement there. And I moved to England, trained there for a year, became the British champion because I competed at British championships and I won. So British champion. And then I moved back to crowned the bronze medalist at USA's.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. And then was able to obviously qualify for World Championships, which is coming up here soon. So.
Cool. So with all that being said, where does jump rope fit? How did you find jump rope?
So I was actually approached by RX and they were, they were like very, you should try jump roping out. And I did a lot of jump rope when I played volleyball in high school.
Was that Dave that reached out to you?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I did a lot of jump roping in high school for volleyball, and it was really good training for me. So I just thought, why not? Like, I'll give it a try. And then, obviously I met you, and you've become like kind of my jump rope coach. So I've been learning, all about, what jump rope can do to help me on the track.
What were you doing in high school with jump rope?
It was honestly just about like conditioning. Like we worked our way up. It was actually a testing tool. So
Interesting.
Yeah. So
how'd that play out?
That was like the only thing we really had to test in terms of fitness in volleyball. Our coach gave us at the beginning of a summer a regimen that we had to be able to jump rope for 10 minutes straight. And
which is very difficult.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
That's really hard.
Especially for like girls that weren't jump ropers. Like I remember there were a couple girls who were on like a jump rope team when they were younger. So it was like super easy for them. But if you weren't like growing up, I mean, maybe you did some double dutch or something, but you never really like did a lot of jump roping. It was definitely a challenge. So, I mean, we spent all summer just trying to like get ourselves like, okay, so today I'm going to just do 1 minute of jumping. Tomorrow it's going to be 1:15, then 1:30. And we just kind of had to like bring ourselves up to be able to jump for 10 minutes. And there were days,
a lot.
I remember there was one year where I don't think I practiced at all. I just assumed I was going to be able to do it. It was like my first year. And I did it because I had like, I didn't want to, if you didn't do 10 minutes, you had to like do all this conditioning, and it was just horrible.
Oh man.
And so, I mean, I think me not having to actually run, I ended up doing it, but I cramped all up in my shins. I was so sore the next day. It was like horrible. But
yeah.
So yeah, that was kind of like my only real experience with jump rope. So I was kind of like, man, I hate jump rope. It's hard because I was just so used to just randomly jumping for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But I've like really like all the things that I've learned, I feel like it's just something that I love having in my toolbox when it comes to training, both physically and mentally.
So usually, and we talked about this a little bit before, usually the big question of the podcast is, what is jump rope to you? And I asked that at the end. But for you, I want to ask that at the beginning, like right now. And I'm curious what jump rope is for you. And we'll kind of meander along through some other topics too later, because there's a lot that you have to offer. But I kind of want to start with the way you look at jump rope.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, I'm sure a bunch of people listening to the podcast, they're jump ropers. And so they are incredible. By the way, you were all incredible. Whoever's listening to this, like who can jump rope, like I can't even. I've tried, and I try constantly, but it is a challenge.
But to be fair, you've done an EB toad and a toad. Both of those are very good skills to have learned.
And to be fair, I don't know what either of those are, but I do know the two tricks that I have done. So I don't know which one is which.
Still working on the terminology.
Yeah.
Yep.
No. I think for jump rope, for me, it's definitely like a tool that I use constantly, but really like the most important thing for me with jump rope is I liken it into people who are really, really brainy, and they like to like use their brain to solve puzzles. They like to do Sudoku or stuff like that. And I feel like for me, jump rope has taught me so much about my cognitive ability to do physical things. So if I'm trying to do something on the track that I honestly, like, for the life of me can't figure out, there's nothing I can do about that. Like, my body it can't do it, and I can't figure it out, and I don't know why. But me being able to practice jump rope and having, a really similar feeling, like my body can't physically do that trick, but me working on it and figuring it out and seeing the wheels turn and it finally coming together, it makes me really, realize that on the track, that's a similar thing. So for me, it's just like it's a brain cognitive, I don't know, what am I trying to say here?
No, you're totally right, because we went through, I think, about an hour of training more or less on those skills. So the toad is the one where you're doing a cross and one hand goes underneath one leg and one's on top. The EB one is where one of those hands is behind your back.
Yeah, which one was the one behind my back was harder for me.
EB
right?
toad.
Yeah, that trick took me 35 minutes just on that trick. Like I did not do anything but practice that trick, and I was like, I don't think I was getting frustrated. I was just like confused. I was like, what is going on? Like my body can't physically do
Right.
this.
And it's fun working with you too, because to you, it feels like you're taking a long time because you're a high end athlete and everything needs to like happen now.
Yeah.
But actually you picked it up pretty darn quick.
Oh my goodness.
So you were crushing it.
I feel like the first one that we did came a little quicker because you had taught me, a lot of like the A skips with the jump rope and stuff. And after I learned that, I feel like the little crossover came a little quicker. But yeah, the EB toad.
EB toad.
Yeah, that one was tricky.
And you said the A skips, that's a term from track.
Oh yeah, that's track and field. I don't know what it's when I was like doing like the high knees with the skip.
Yeah, and basically it's high knee, single bounce, high knee, single bounce.
Okay.
So when you put them together, it looks really good. And you do that for warm up, right?
Yeah, I do that. I do that with like a good track warm up, and honestly, like the track community flips out about it too. Because
really?
Yeah, because it's a difficult thing to do. It's a coordination move anyways. Just doing it yourself, but adding a jump rope in it is something that is a really tricky thing to do, and it takes a lot of practice. And I think a lot of people actually sent me videos of them doing it, which was really cool.
That's so do you use the rope in warm up a lot?
Especially on days where I'm going to be like high jumping, because high jump is also something that, you have to figure out cognitively. And so I like using the jump rope warming up because I feel like it warms up my brain and my body.
Can you describe that? How high jump you need to use your brain? Because I'm for sure not familiar with that.
So
I'm curious.
the thing about high jump is it's a technical event. Like, yes, you have to jump high, but what happens after you jump high? Like, do you just like somehow pop over the bar? No, you have to there's a lot of motion and a lot of fluidity that needs to happen physically. And it's one of those things that, a lot of people can jump really high. I know a ton of people who are incredibly amazing. They can touch the rim easy, no big deal. But when it comes to high jump, they can't. I can high jump way higher than them, even though like that should not be the case because they can jump much higher than I can. So it's definitely like a technical event. And so when I am doing technical events that are, especially with jumping and all that, I love using jump rope because it helps warm up my brain and my body.
That's actually pretty similar with jump rope, because you see a lot of, especially in like the adult community, because kids pick up jump rope pretty quick, but they're still developing. But a lot of adults, when they're learning, you'll see them take off and get really high in the air, and they'll have all the time in the world, but their hand placement proficiency just isn't there quite yet.
That makes sense.
So
that sounds a lot like me when I was trying to do double unders when you first met me.
Actually, no, you were not. You got to give yourself a little more credit because you were like on point. It was really good. It just felt strange.
I was just jumping as high as I could and whipping that rope as fast as I could.
And you have a really high bound. I don't think you've met Jimmy yet, but he's one of the jumpers here in town. He bounds really high. It's what he's known for. You're up there with him, and he's got like 5 inches on you. So just so you guys who are listening can like kind of put that in perspective. Chari's got like a higher vertical than Jimmy. Sorry,
I
Jimmy.
don't know about that.
It's
I don't
pretty.
know Jimmy, but
it's pretty up there.
I don't think that'd be cool, but
no, you're definitely soaring when you're jumping. I'm really curious about your training, because a lot of the way I look at jump rope, is from a peak performance standpoint, highest level of efficiency, as we've done coaching and stuff. And even like in the competitive world, how people are putting out scores that are just crazy. We were discussing the 120 in 30 seconds the other day, and something that's that wild. What are you doing at your practices? Kind of like a rough structure. And how do you balance eating, sleeping, recovering, and your actual workout?
Yeah. So, honestly, my practices look different depending on, what the focus is and how close my next competition is, because we'll do a competition that is months away. And, you better believe that for a good 3 weeks, we're going to hammer everything. I'll do a 7-hour practice day where we run and we bound and we put our bodies through crazy town madness. But then on that, we usually will do 3-week cycles of really intense training. And then we'll do 1 week of really relaxed training to kind of get our bodies back in. And then the closer we get to competition, we will definitely, make our training a little bit more moderate to light. And as far as balancing, I mean, that's a tricky concept for anybody. Like if you're trying to, support yourself financially and do, compete at the highest level, I mean, that's a really tricky thing to do. For me personally, I just do my very best to hustle as much as possible so that I don't have to work a 9 to 5, because working a 7-hour day doesn't really allow me to have, a day job. So I have to, do as much as I can to just, get myself together financially.
Right. And have the actual time to train. In those days that you're doing those 7-hour workouts, what's going on? Like, what are you doing? Because is that 7 hours straight of working out? Is there, blocks of time? I'm just curious.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Like. Yeah.
I have 7 different events that I do, and we don't train all of those events on on every single day. That would be crazy. But we do definitely train a lot of them a lot. So I'll start a day anywhere from starting out with a hurdle workout, which will take, an hour and 15 minutes. My warm up actually takes over an hour, just because, making sure that your muscles are warm. Like when you're sprinting at full speed, like there's no way you cannot be like as warm as possible. And I feel like the older I get, I feel like when I was like 17 years old, I could literally not warm up and I would be just fine.
Totally fine.
I could just go on a dead sprint and now it's like, I look at somebody doing that and I'm like, wow, I just pulled my hamstring. Great. That's awesome.
Nice.
Love it. So yeah, so I'll make sure to get nice and warm, hurdles, and then we'll take what we call like a hep break. So we eat, we change our shoes, and it's only about 10 minutes. Get a drink of water, fill up our water bottle, etc. And then I'll move on to the next, which will be high jump. So then I'll do a high jump cycle, and that's going to be about an hour and 15 as well, maybe an hour and a half. And you know what? It's usually just me and my coach working, so we don't have a specific time. We just do what we need to do until the work gets done. So
interesting.
A practice could take anywhere from 15 minutes if you did it. Good job. You're done. Or it could be 2 hours. So
it's not about time. It's about what you're doing to give your body a stimulus so that it's going to be useful later.
Right. And so I would say like a reasonable time, like if I needed to like plan meetings or something, I would say a reasonable time was I'm going to be at the track for at least 4 to 4.5 hours, and it could be up to 7. So if it's a lighter day where we're not doing, 3 or 4 workouts, then it'll be a lighter day. But so after high jump, we'll do shot put. And that kind of a day will be something that would be closer together. So another day we'll do javelin, long jump, and maybe an 800 session, or we'll do a sprint lactic session. And then I'll also have weight training. So a lot of stuff. And then honestly, I go home, I try to get myself something to eat. I was lucky because... Something
to eat. I feel like you'd want to eat everything after that.
Yeah, everything to eat. Actually, I was lucky because I was able to... My undergrad is in culinary arts, so I do know how to cook, so it's nice. But I also learned in culinary arts that butter tastes amazing. So it's been a little bit more of a creative adjustment for me, because I literally want to put butter and oil
in everything
and so much salt in everything I eat. And I'm like, oh man, this would taste so much better if it had a gallon of heavy cream in it.
So when you're doing food, are you tracking extremely specific macros and nutrients? Are you loose? How does that play out?
I actually don't talk about this super publicly, so good for you for getting this out of me. But I actually had an eating disorder when I was younger, like a lot younger. I would say 8th grade. I weighed 60 pounds in 8th grade. Oh, wow. And I was 5'6". I was a tall girl. Not tall, but I was tiny and not for my height. It's not like I was 5 feet and 60 pounds. I was 5'6" and 60 pounds. So, I have to be a little careful when it comes to food, because I have a very OCD type of a personality. So, especially I think it's probably a little better now. that was years ago, but now I try to be just very like healthy and happy and try to keep my body like fed. And so I try not to be too much, but I've actually made a goal for this next season in 2020 that it's the Olympic year, right? Mm-hmm. So we got to do everything that we can to make sure that we're as successful as possible. So one of my goals is to really focus on making sure that I'm getting the exact right amount of nutrients in my body. And I think that I'm probably going to need some like assistance with that one, because I got to be careful. Like I said, I got to be careful with that. And I think that that's something that all athletes kind of need to hear, is nobody is immune. Like, I feel like I'm somebody who is so self-aware. In fact, I knew I had an eating disorder myself. And I remember seeing a picture of me one day in 8th grade and being like, ew, like, come on now, you're better than that. And then that's when I stopped having it. But nobody's immune. I feel like I'm one of the most self-aware people, and I'm not immune to it either. So like, I mean, when it comes to food, like, yes, like healthy is so important, and making sure that, I don't think that you need to deprive yourself of anything, but I also think that, the 80-20 rule is amazing. Like 80% of the time, you know what, you need to be eating better. And if you found yourself, wow, I've been eating like crap for like 60% of my time, like that probably needs to change. But if you're saying like, I can't have ice cream at all, even if it's on the weekend or whatever, because I like that's unrealistic, and that's not what life is for. Life is for enjoying your life and doing what you love because you love it, and not because you have to do it,
And I feel like in that 82, the food that you're consuming is still clean. It's relatively unprocessed. You're ideally making it for yourself, but that 20% is like scheduled, or like your cheat days or whatever.
I would say like on that 20, I honestly say be super sporadic with the 20. Like with the 80, I think it's like planned out, hey, like I think I need to eat something healthy today. Like what can I have, and really just think about like, be aware, put it at the front of your brain. But on that 20, it's like, just be sporadic sometimes, And I think if you were sporadic yesterday, I think the important thing is I don't need to be sporadic again. But also, just because you were sporadic yesterday doesn't mean you have to be not sporadic today. It's about being disciplined and relaxed at the same time, because there's definitely a balance.
Mm-hmm. You seem like you're very black and white. Once you've made a decision, that's it. The decision has been made.
You know what? It's crazy. I would say yes, and I say no, because I don't think that. It's more like I'm all over the place in terms of color, because one day it's blue and red, and that's it, just blue and red. And then the next day it's like, oh, no, it's green and yellow. You know what I mean? And then it's, oh my gosh. So I'm always like, I'm somebody who, like, if I learn new information and it comes to me and it works for me, that's what I am, because I do have a little bit of an OCD situation, but I don't feel like I'm somebody who's closed off. So if somebody were to be like, that 80-20 doesn't work, and they really presented a good case, like, I'm not somebody who would be like, well, you're wrong and I'm right. Like that.
And I feel like that translates to your sport though.
For sure.
Like, you show up to the track and you're either doing your workout or you're not. Or if there's different, like your coach changes it up for a good reason, you adapt to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like if I'm doing something, I will give it 100%, but what I'm giving 100% to could definitely change at any given moment. Because I'm honestly, like, I feel like I am very like, yes, I'm going to do this, because I feel like I'm pretty disciplined, but I'm also a hot mess too. So let's not get it twisted.
You're very humble.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
No.
Oh my gosh. I really want to dig into one specific question, because you talk about this a lot. You're shooting for Olympics 2020. What is the why that's driving you? Why?
I remember when in 2017, I had my coach, who was amazing. I love him still. He's not my coach anymore, but man, he's incredible. Love him. Have no ill will whatsoever. I was in a really unhappy place mentally in 2017, and
except that you were in Santa Barbara and I was there too, and we never crossed paths, which would have been funny.
It's probably why I was so unhappy, because I hadn't discovered you were jump roping yet.
Exactly, no jump ropes yet.
Yeah, there you go. So
jump rope changes your life.
Yeah, there you go.
But it does.
Yeah. So I was just in a weird place. So I was just always having a bunch of anxiety, and I was just really unhappy. And my coach saw that, and he was like, Chari, this sport isn't for you. Like, you're awesome.
Straight up.
Yeah. And he told me 4 different times that I needed to retire. Like, honest. And you know what? His heart was in such a good place, because what would you do if your professional athlete was like, I had to financially support myself to like do this hobby that I would show up to practice already have been crying all morning, like what would you do? Like anybody would say like, I'm doing this because I care about you, but like in my own mind, I knew what I was going through, and I knew that it wasn't because of track. I knew that it was because of other things that we won't get into now, but I knew, no, I can do this, and it was like, even though
you can do
like
the life of a professional athlete.
I could do this sport.
You can win.
I don't need to retire. I'm not there yet, And that's actually why I decided to go to England, because I think I needed a new, fresh start. And when I went there, I told myself, I said, you're going to the Olympics or you're going to retire, because there is no
black and white.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Black and white.
and you know what? I think in some decisions, like if you really want to reach the level that it takes to be an Olympian, it has to be black and white.
And you kind of have to be a little crazy. Just a little straightforward of like...
Which describes me perfectly.
No, but it's very real that like with people who are champions with I've also hung out with a lot of different CrossFitters, and it's...
Oh yeah,
gonna win.
That's probably like the biggest thing, is that it's one way,
right? One direction. They have their blinders on. They're not looking at any other options.
There has to be only one option. If you really like, honestly, the people who go to the Olympics don't go there by accident. They don't say like, oh yeah, like maybe I'll go, and if I get lucky enough, then I'll go to the Olympics. No, they say, yeah, I'm going to the Olympics, and that's all I'm going to be focusing on for the next 4 years. So bye family, goodbye like friends, goodbye everybody, love you so much, see you when I get back from the Olympics. That's kind of like what I've noticed. And so I had never done that before. When I was not doing my best, I was just living life, and I went to practice like a few hours a day. And I was like, cool, that's just me. And it was basically like I was staying in shape, and track was a hobby. Even though in my mind, I was like, I hope I can get good. I just didn't know that I needed to give every single thing that I had in order to get there.
Which is a big difference.
Yeah, it is. And so when I went to England, I went there, and that was kind of my opportunity to dive in, because I decided to get my master's there as well. So I got to, kill 2 birds with 1 stone. But I was like, you know what, while we're in England, let's just try going all in for a second. And if you're going to be good enough, we'll go for Tokyo 2020. And if you're not good enough, you gave it everything. So you may as well just hang your hat.
But you'd be proud because you did everything.
That you tried. And, I tried, it just wasn't for me, and I could retire knowing that. And it was crazy because, that's when I first started taking supplements. That's when I first started putting a lot more effort into and focused effort into my practices. That's when I started doing my rehab a lot more seriously. And what happened was in one season, I gained 200 points onto my personal best. And I went from having the 25th highest score to top 5 highest score. And I was like, wow, that's what it takes. And when I moved back, I graduated from my master's program, and I moved back to California, and I found my coach, Sheila, now, and she is a bad A. She seriously is a world champion, like world medalist and Olympic heptathlete herself. And I found her, and she's just such an awesome, amazing like presence and everything.
So you upped your recovery and your training intensity?
I upped everything.
Everything. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Like I honestly, I turned volume all the way up high, and then I turned on the bass as well. And the bass wasn't even on before. And, and so it was just, there were so many things that I did. And that's the crazy thing is I've done so much, and there's still so much more I can do to really put that tunnel vision on.
So I really want to talk about recovery for a second.
Okay.
Because I
love talking about recovery.
Yeah,
I can talk about that all day.
Well, one of the funny things is when I go talk to other people about the similar subjects that we're talking about now, I always bring up you and your recovery schedule because you do it so much.
Yeah, I probably spend 3 hours a day recovery.
Yeah,
I would say, so I spend at least an hour and a half on recovery and up to 3 hours on recovery. So 3 hours of recovery is something I have done plenty of times, but I think it would be a little misleading to say every single day is a 3 hour recovery day. But I'm at least doing an hour and a half of recovery every day.
Okay.
I do red light therapy, usually for 20 minutes. I do the rapid reboot, which is like compression massage. It's like those pants that you put on.
Yep.
And I have a pair of those, and I'll do that for 20 minutes. And honestly, both of those things can be done in front of a television, which is nice.
What does the red light therapy do?
So red light therapy does a ton, actually. It increases the ATP in your skin cells, and so they can recover faster. So I don't know. So I had this wicked blister on my toe from running, and it was so deep, and it hurt so bad. I could barely even put on my running shoes, let alone my track spikes. And I started using the red light on it, and it healed up super quickly. It was really great. So it's really good for like bruises and stuff like that, but it's also super good for like shin splints, ankle mobility, because it just raises the energy level in your cells. And so your cells can work a little bit quicker, a little bit better. It's super good. I know this is weird, but it's really good for anti-aging, for acne, because your skin cells just work better, faster, and they turn over better. So that's what red light does. Compression massage, it's honestly just like a massage, but it starts at your ankles, it fills up with air, then it goes to your calves, then your quads, and all the way up, and then it goes up and down. So it's almost just like you're getting a nice little massage. So I do that. I do stim. I get on the stimulator.
Oh, okay.
So, and if I have a nice bag of ice, I feel like all my ice, I always let it melt and then I put it back in the freezer. So it's just this nasty block of ice that like doesn't really fit on me. But sometimes, if I have a good bag of ice, I'll put some ice on the stim.
Okay.
So the stimulation will just like, it does all that and feels really nice too. And then anything
normal like stretching.
Yeah, and then I do stretch. I stretch every morning and every night. Stretching is actually probably the biggest one for me. I probably only spend like 15 minutes stretching in the morning and 15 at night. But it's like I feel like I used to be a ball of injury. Mm-hmm. Like honestly, and I would say even this year, because I really just started stretching maybe in March or April, because when I pulled both my hamstrings, I was like,
Yikes.
I gotta do something different.
That sounds like an issue if you're trying to run.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I pulled them both, and I was like, all right, well, I am somebody who's also very naturally flexible too. So me pulling my hamstrings, it's like, what the heck is going on?
Weird.
And I'm realizing that, I was just so off balance. I needed to like balance up everything and stretch not just one thing, but just do a full body stretch. That was just so important. And so, yeah, a lot of stretching. I do like to roll out, like,
foam roll.
Foam roll. I have a vibrating foam roller, which is so nice.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's like the best thing ever. And then I have, like a tennis ball, and you can like get in your glutes. I have one that vibrates as well. So it like you can get in your glutes and let it release and stuff. So I'll release any muscles that are tight. And honestly, and then I do band work with like glute activation. I do 10 minutes of abs every day. So it's like, it adds up. That's why I say it can go up to 3 hours, because it really, especially if you're doing all of them, which I do, especially when I'm feeling bad. If I feel really tired, I will do absolutely everything for recovery, and it takes a long time. Like, I mean, me even like listing them off, there are nights where I do every single one of these. I also do this thing. It's called, it's from the company Nimbus, and it's a CM2. And what it does is it aligns your cells so they're all the same charge, helps your body heal itself better. Because when we're working out, when we're tired, all of our cells stack up.
Align your cells in terms of like when they're in the bloodstream, they can be closer or farther away from each other.
Well, yeah, exactly. So think about when you have a magnet and it's positively charged and negatively charged, they stick together. And when they stick together like a magnet, like you don't have all the surface area of your cells. So your cells are what turns over. That's what makes you. That's what heals you, right? That's what our body does. That our cells are needed so that we can heal ourselves. And when they're like, think about that game of Snake when we played on our phones. You know, like as you collect more things, your snake gets longer. Well, imagine if those were your cells stacking up and they were just one big long snake. You can't even move very much. That's why we get so icky and gross. And so this just charges your cells. So I use that too. Like there's a lot of, I'm telling you, I could talk about recovery for years.
Your Nimbus band is, all this information is according to Nimbus and kind of like from them, right?
Right.
So technically what we're talking about is more of a quick summary. So it shouldn't be taken as direct medical advice, obviously, but it's kind of the gist of how those things work.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. But like I've actually seen that with my own brain, my own two eyes. Like they tested my blood before and after using it. And so it was pretty cool to see my blood cells stacked up and then to see them separated. It was pretty cool.
What's really interesting about 3 hours of stretching and recovery is it seems like that's not something that you feel like you have to do. It's something that you want to do.
Oh,
that's a huge difference. Huge difference.
It used to be something I had to do. Like, and guess what? I didn't do it.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do that. That's garbage. And so, but then I started feeling the effects of it. Like I did it a couple times. Like I was like, you know what? This is my goal. I'm going to just do it every day this week. And then I was like, wait, why do I feel so amazing the next day? Like
recovery.
Yeah. You know, like
turns out it works.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Huh. So you just named off a whole bunch of fun things for recovery. And I kind of want to double back to you mentioning being a pro athlete and working. Because for a lot of people, and myself included, 100% up until like the last 3 months, I always thought pro athletes like got it made, done, easy. Anyone that's got like 100,000 plus followers, like they're set. And that is for sure actually not the case.
That's what I thought too. And I'm still waiting for my big break. I'm like, wait, I was told that I would be discovered by now and I would be in movies. And yeah, I was told that I was going to be like, in my mind, I thought that I would be like a jillionaire by now. And that is not the case. Like I was like, oh, okay, all I have to do is make it to Worlds, get a couple Instagram followers. We got this. And then I'm like, wait, excuse me. Where's all the money that I was promised in my own head?
And the hustle is real, right?
Yeah,
because you're working really hard to keep that going.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's crazy. It's crazy how, you know, it's not easy. It's not easy. And you know what? It's fun. That's the difference. Is a lot of people think it's easy, but it is definitely not easy, but it is definitely fun. And that's the difference. Is it's not an easy road, but it is a very enjoyable road. And so that's why I could see, you know, athletes quote, have it made in the shade, or people who have hundreds of thousands of followers have it made in the shade. It's like, it may be because actually what they're doing is pretty fun, but it's pretty difficult too. And I feel like as an athlete too, I try so hard to be an athlete first. And then I just want to share my journey of being an athlete. And it kind of is always, it's kind of like transformed into this like, almost like an influencer type of a thing. But mostly for me, I've always just wanted to share my journey of how I'm being an athlete. And hopefully it's able to, you know, pay the bills when it comes to living in California and paying rent and training all day and not having a job. Yeah.
Yeah, no, then that's super real.
Yeah, for sure.
I want to touch on something that's really unique to you. And I actually have this question for you that it just popped up a little bit before we did this. You have a video with one of your sponsors on called The Pursuit of Progress.
Yeah.
Not The Pursuit of Perfection. Right? That's kind of the whole distinction there.
Totally.
And if you guys haven't seen it, I'll link up in the show notes because it's 100% worth watching. But as an athlete who's trying to win, in my mind, perfection would be kind of the goal, being perfect to win. But what do you think about that in terms of progress versus perfection and how that plays a role in being a winner and having a winner mindset of trying to get out there and get gold?
So I actually think this is like a perfect time for me to explain the mental journey that I've kind of been through in the last, probably the last 10 years before I was in college, like all that. But I have had like severe anxiety, like problems, like I would say severe, because I shared this a little bit on my profile, but I literally tried to injure myself one competition because I did not want to be there. I wanted to go home.
Like, and you were hoping as you were doing your events, you would just you would go too fast, go too hard, not warm up.
Oh no, I was in the corner trying to tear my own Achilles in the corner. Just not like, maybe I'll fall in a hurdle. No, I was like literally trying to do something bad. Like, it was crazy. Like, so that's why I would say severe anxiety, like crazy. And that was one of the things this last year that I really wanted to focus on. I told myself, you will only get better if you figure out how to defeat the monster in your brain. And I realized through just asking everybody, I asked every single person, I just put down my pride and I was like, hey, have you ever had anxiety when it came to track? Some people would literally disappoint me and say, no, never. What is that? And I'd be like, oh gosh. Well, okay, next. And then, but you know what? A lot of people were like, yes. And you know what helped me is this. And they would give me all of these ideas. And the more that I talked about it with people, the more I realized my own story and what was causing my anxiety. And for me, I realized that what was causing my anxiety was making my results equivalent to my worth. So if I won a competition or I got a personal best, that means I am a good person. And I mean like I'm a good daughter. I'm a good friend. I'm a good partner in life. Like I'm worthy because I did well in track and field. And I don't think that I cognitively realized that that was my issue. But once it clicked for me, I was so disgusted with myself. I was like, how dare you? Like, you're a good person. Like, you care about others. Like, what's wrong with you? And I realized, like, you are putting so much pressure on yourself to be perfect that it is eating you alive and making you bad. Like, honestly, that anxiety ruined a lot of competitions for me. I remember in college, I was ranked third, which, I'm not going to lie, I had no reason to be ranked third. What in the world? I was doing so well. Like, and you know what? Guess what was two of my really good events were next. I was a great long jumper. I was probably one of the best long jumpers of the field. And then, actually, I'm not going to lie, my 800 was terrible back then. But I would have been able to hold it just fine. But I was so nervous that I didn't eat one thing that entire day. I did not eat a single
That's not good.
piece of food. And in a pentathlon, when there's 5 events in one day, that equates to like 7 hours of work and no food, which equates to on the ground and not functioning. Yeah. And that's exactly what happened. I took dead last in long jump, which what in the world?
Because that's your event.
That was one of my best events. And then I'm pretty sure like I was close to getting lapped in the 800. Like, it was so bad. Like, it was just, which I know that would have killed in a track and field podcast, by the way, for all of you listening, because Nate didn't laugh. And I just realized that
it's on Nate. You didn't laugh.
I just realized that you probably think that that's an actual possibility to get lapped. That's impossible. It's impossible to get lapped in an 800 unless
we have the context now.
Unless you're literally like on your hands doing handstands and walking, and then you might get lapped in an 800. Like, there's no way you're going to get lapped in it. Even if you're like walking quick, you're probably not. So that's why it was a joke, but I realize now that I forgot who my audience was. That would have killed it at track. Actually,
Come on, Nate,
I don't
get
think
together.
I don't think it would have killed because my delivery was probably wrong too. So I got to work on that. But yeah,
so that competition.
But anyways, it was terrible, right? Because my anxiety just got the best of me, and I realized, like, Chari, like, why are you putting so much like emphasis on like your results? Like, that's so silly. And so I promised myself I had a really big competition, probably at that time the biggest competition of my life. And it was in Austria, and I was competing with like all of my like people that I just like admired when it came to like, they're all already 2-time Olympians. They're all amazing.
But you were competing with them.
With them, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a big competition. Jeez. And I don't know how I got invited. I was so excited, but I was like, okay, good for all of you for thinking I deserve to be here, but whatever. and I was like, okay, I promised myself 2 things. I said, you will smile during this entire competition. After every event, no matter what happens, you will smile and you will have fun. And those are your only 2 rules. It doesn't matter if you get a 0 in one of the events.
You will have fun.
You will have fun, which I had never done in a heptathlon before. I've always had fun after, like looking back, I'm like, oh, that was fun. But like during, I'm like, no, get me out of here. So I told myself those 2 things. But a little background on that. I said that I pulled both my hamstrings earlier. This was my first competition coming off of 2 pulled hamstrings. So they were healed.
Oh, wow.
But that's why I was like, you'll just have fun. Like there's no pressure.
That's why it was easy to have that
in my
mindset.
Mind, there was no pressure because you
weren't expecting so much of yourself.
Yeah, I only went because I couldn't miss the opportunity. You know what I mean? That's why I was there. I didn't want to miss the opportunity to go compete at that high level. So my first, I hadn't even run hurdles in 10 weeks. So we got ready for hurdles. Hurdles went great. I got a season best, and I was like, oh yes, and I gave myself a little high five, and it was awesome. And then high jump, which I would say is my best event. Like I would say it was high jump, and then hurdles, and then long jump. That's what I would say. High jump came up, and I did terrible. I probably haven't jumped that bad since high school. And but as soon as I knocked down the 3rd bar on that attempt, because we get 3 attempts in high jump to clear the bar. And so not only did I mess up once, I messed up 3 times in a row. So good for me. But anyways, as soon as I knocked that 3rd bar down, I heard my own self promise, you will smile after every event, you will have fun. So I shrugged my shoulders because everybody knew that I did terrible. Like, no, it's not like everybody was like, oh, right. She tried. Like everybody was like, yikes. Like,
that's like if you missed on every skill in your freestyle routine or something like that.
Yeah. And everybody was just kind of like, all right, go back to double dutch, you know? Is that a good joke for jump rope?
No, because double dutch is still pretty cool, but it's all right.
Oh yeah, have to remember.
That's like go back to the playground.
That's in my opinion. To be fair though, I wasn't thinking like good double dutch. I was thinking like playground double
dutch. Okay. Then yeah.
Okay. So if I would have said that would have been better. Okay. I'm still learning. Soon I'll be your favorite comedian on this show. Anyways, so everybody knew I did bad, but I shrugged my shoulders. I like smiled, and then all of a sudden, it was crazy. Like people who I feel like would never give me the time of day because they're Olympians and everything, they all started coming up to me, and they all just were like, "Hey,"
your attitude,
and they were like, "You know what? Hey, like it's all right. Like that happens to me all the time." But they were saying it in their adorable accents because they're from all over the world, and I was just like, okay. Well, anyway, so I got off, good attitude, and I went over to my parents. My parents were like, "What's wrong with you?" But they were nice because they were
because you had a good attitude and they weren't expecting you to be okay with it.
No, because I jumped so terrible.
Oh.
And they were like, "What's wrong with you?" And then, but my attitude was so good, and they were like, like, okay, here we go. And then what did I do? I did terrible in shot put as well. And I was like, gosh. I will smile. I will get through this. Yep. Everything's okay. And then I ended up, I just told myself that, but because there was literally no pressure on me, I really did it. I really committed. And I ended up on day 2 having the best second day I've ever had in my whole life.
Oh,
it
wow.
was crazy.
Wow.
And then I went home being like, every single minute of that heptathlon was fun. Like I genuinely had fun in that heptathlon, and it just changed everything for me. Like, Chari, when you really don't put your worth on how you do, but instead how you respond to how you do, like, wow, like think about how much more fun everything is.
So it's not so much that score and getting the best score, it's how you are acting around all of that, how you interact throughout the day.
It was all about me and like who I was as a person. That became the focus again, instead of how I did as an athlete, that made me a good person. And so I think that when I went into USA's, I had that same mindset, and I did great in all my events, but somehow I still kept that mentality. It was something that clicked for me. And so, I mean, I guess like this is just my own unsolicited advice that probably none of you want, but if you are having any like mental blocks or anxieties or anything, like what I would honestly ask is, why are you having them? What is your root cause? And sometimes the answer can be, I don't know, and that's okay. And just ask people like, hey, do you have anxiety when this happens or that or this or that? And like the more you talk about it, the more you're going to find out your own journey. And then once you find out why you're feeling that way, you can control it, And it's like, and that's just my own personal journey. And I know that everybody's mental challenges are different. And I totally respect that and understand it for sure. But bringing now full circle, you talked about the on running video and like how, we're not chasing perfection, but we're making progress. And I think that having a pursuit of just getting better every day, if you really can say that you left a practice, a session, a workout, and you genuinely got better that day, I think that even if it wasn't the best day ever, but you showed up and you learned something, it was worth your time. It was worth your effort.
And also, and also if you show up to practice and you have a terrible practice and you do if you leave it on the table, if you actually don't put it all out that day, like from this week, that's how the last 4 or 5 days have been.
Yeah.
It's been honestly terrible. I haven't had the energy. It's not been good. But even when you leave like that, knowing that that's part of the progress.
Oh my goodness.
It's part of the whole process as well.
The crazy thing about bad days is they have to happen. Mm-hmm. Like if you were always, if you were so always like that's just that's just like what it's as common as gravity. If you throw a ball in the air, it has to come back down. It has to fall down. And I feel like we all wish that we didn't have to have bad days, but it's like I think we all have to have bad days just because that's life. Like, and even people who quote have it made in any sense of the word that you might think it is, like they're having bad days too. Like every single person that has had explosive diarrhea at some point in their mind. And think about that.
Is that the laugh you're looking for?
If that makes them more human to you, like then so be it. But it's like we've all had the flu. Like we've all been sick. Yep. We've all had bad days. We've all had mental stresses. We've all had breakdowns. And just because you've had a couple in a row doesn't mean that you are screwed. Like it doesn't mean that. It means
people don't get to perfect by being perfect. And they're not even perfect in the first place.
Yeah.
What's so interesting about that too is like you started saying what you like so much about track is that you got to make your own path.
Yeah, for sure.
And what's interesting is to see that it looks like, from my perspective, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, your path was to be the best with the best scores, but then it changed and it became being you throughout that whole process.
Yeah, I totally...
Well, you still want to win. You have very much a champion's mindset, for sure, for sure.
I feel like I actually went through last night, I went through a couple of my little like notes that I would give because I put like little notes in my training, quote unquote, journals. That just, give me like what I'm expecting of myself and everything. And I realized that in 2016, I was expecting as much out of myself that I expect now that I was then. But it's crazy because I can squat 150 pounds more now than I could then. I could bench press like 50 pounds more now than I could then. I could run this much faster. I could bound this much higher. I'm so much stronger. I'm so much quicker. I'm so much better mentally. Like there's so much more improvement that I've done from then, but I still expected so much out of myself. But now my expectations, it's not that they haven't changed, because I have like changed them, but I'm adapting them to be goals instead of hopes. And that's like the biggest thing is I feel like before, like, yes, like I wanted to be the best, but it's like I was hoping that I one day could be the best, maybe if I tried really hard. And now it's like, okay, I have a goal in mind. How can I get there? Is it realistic with my situation if I can get there? Okay, maybe not, honestly, if I'm being honest with myself. So where can I get? And it's like, it's about, and then as soon as you get there, always raising the bar, you know, and that's my new mindset. And like I said, sometimes it's green, sometimes it's yellow. Like my mindset changes every single day. I learn something new every day, and it would be so silly of me to just be like, oh, nope, set in my ways. So it could change tomorrow. But as of now, it's more just as you keep progressing, realistically progress, so that you, instead of trying to take the stairs 10 steps at a time, jumping and then only making 3 steps and being sad, like, hey, let's get to the next step, get to the next step, get to the next step. And so eventually we're up on to step 10. It's like, I don't know what the equivalent to jump rope is, but if you're trying to learn how to do a quad, like under, like, and you right now can barely even do a triple, but you're like, I'm going to try a quad. It's like, bro,
calm down.
Is that right?
Yep, that works.
Okay,
yeah,
that works.
And then you kind of you do progressions, you do steps, and another good example too would be like speed scores. We were talking about that earlier.
Yep.
So if my speed scores this week, terrible.
Right.
They're at least 10 jumps behind where they should be, which is a pretty significant amount.
Right. Which is okay.
It is okay for periods of time, because like you said, instead of trying to go from step 2 to 5, take it one step at a time. But then sometimes you go from step 5 back down to 4.
Yeah.
And you gotta,
totally. Yeah. And well, here's the thing that's crazy is a lot of times, I mean, think about the thought about being sore. Like when you're sore the next day, like, do you feel like when you're really sore the next day, I'm not just talking like, oh, I'm feeling it, but like you're just crazy sore. Like, you could barely walk. You can't do anything. But what are you doing? You're building muscle. If you wouldn't have worked so hard yesterday, you wouldn't be sore today. And it's just like, it would be so silly to expect your body to be as like revved up as it was when you just put it through craziness. And then now being like, wow, my body's sore. This is an outrage. But it's like, we do that with our body. Like we expect it to be like at its peak performance when it's like, dude, you're tired. You worked hard and like you didn't sleep well. You didn't eat well. Like you're stressed out. Like if your body, if we got mad at our body for our physiological responses, like we do, like what we think we can do. 'Cause,
you need mental deload weeks too.
Exactly.
Everything happens
mental
in phases.
and physical. It's like if you're not getting if I'm not jumping well that day, I remember actually, this is my friend Nick, my coach Nick. He's also my friend. But I remember I was working out with some super youngins, like some super young heptathletes, and they were just getting so frustrated. Because they just weren't throwing well, and they've thrown well in the past, and like it just wasn't their day. And I was just like, you're good, you got this. And then a couple weeks later, I was throwing terrible, like so bad. But like in my mind, I was like, I didn't even realize I was throwing bad. And Nick came over to me and was like, hey, make sure, like, I don't know if you're getting frustrated or not, but like, just try not to get frustrated. Like these days happen. And I was like, oh, Nick, you silly thing. I'm much too old for that. Like there are just like sometimes like you just have to realize like it's not always going to look amazing, but that's part of it. That is 100% part of it.
Sometimes you show up to the gym and you don't get any of the freestyle skills you're working on.
Yeah.
But that's the whole point.
That is fine.
You show up next week and you get it.
Do you know what's great is if you can genuinely be like, like, this is a very bad day. Like,
and be cognizant
like
of it.
How I was on Monday when I was with you and you were like, Chari, like, where's your energy at? You know? And I was just like, you know what, Nate? It's been a day.
It's been a day.
And I am and I promise I will be better next time. And we were going to do this workout and I was like, I'm not up for it. I remember that?
Yep.
I was like, I'm not up for this. We got to adjust. Like, we got to do something else because I cannot.
Pursuit of progress and not perfection.
Exactly. So it's just, I mean,
it's a flowing thing.
If you can really, I think that's like a gift. And I feel like it's a gift that can be given right now. Like, if you've never thought about it before and you're listening now, like, if you can really be aware, like, hey, this isn't a good day, and be okay with the fact that it's not a good day, like, what an amazing talent, what an amazing gift that you can give yourself. Like, hey, this isn't a good day, but that's okay. Like, not, hey, I suck now. Like, I remember there was a point where I was having a really bad, probably month, and that's one of the reasons why my coach was like, maybe you should give it up, because... And I was like, I forgot how to high jump. I forgot how to hurdle. I forgot how to be an athlete. Like, I'm tripping over my own 2 feet. Like, what is going on? And I now realize, like, me then I thought there was something wrong with me. Like, I thought I was just forgot how to be an athlete. And I was like, wow, I'm going downhill. And now I'm like, no, you were just going through something, but you didn't put it to the front of your brain like, oh, I'm going through something, so that you could get past it. And it's like, now when I feel like my bad days happen. They super happen. They happened a lot this week, actually. But those same days, I feel like I know that they're bad, and they don't last as long as I feel like they used to when I was like having bad days. So...
No, that makes a lot of sense, man. This has been a really good conversation, and I'm really glad we got to do it, because those were like so many of the questions that I had on the back of my mind for like a while. Yeah, actually, there's one more thing I want to ask you, and this might be a quick answer, but I'm curious.
It's never a quick answer to be, Nate. You should know that by now.
No, you got this. I think
what is this, like a 4-hour session now?
Yeah, right. No, we're good. How do you maintain your drive? And I feel like it comes back to very much black and white about your goal. But if there's anything else, let me know, because you are very laser focused about what you're here to accomplish.
I think something that's really fun is, I feel like when you start to put your effort into something and see progress, even if it's teeny bits, it makes you want more and want more and want more and want more. So I feel like keeping your eye out for those little peaks of light when you hit a trick that you've been working on for a long time, or you feel like you're getting quicker, you feel like you're getting stronger. For me, it was, I think hurdles is a big one for me, because it's such a millisecond thing. So if you feel like you're getting faster, getting more fit, it's really addicting, you know? And I think because I work really hard, I get really addicted to my own progress. But like I said, there's a difference between getting addicted to progress and loving it and wanting more of it, and putting your own value on it. So there is definitely a separation that needs to happen. So it's like, if you don't progress, it's okay. It's like, it's just a part of life. Like, I'm not always progressing every single day, but I know at the same time I'm getting better, even if I didn't get better, if that makes sense.
It does, because yeah, you have, like you said, you have to have those bad days. That makes a lot of sense. And then like recontextualizing it and understanding that a win today might not be the same as a win yesterday.
For sure. I actually had a workout on Tuesday that was really tricky for me, because none of my teammates made it to Worlds this year. So, which they made other teams, but none of them just like went to Worlds. And so I've been the only one practicing, and running by yourself when you're doing speed intervals and they're 250 meters and they're fast. It's really hard. It's really hard, yes. Especially when the first part of it is directly into a headwind, and that's when you have to start directly into a headwind. So you're just like, And
training alone is no joke.
It is. And
no
you
joke.
Know that.
Yes.
You know that firsthand. Like, it's tricky. It is very tricky. And I remember thinking to myself, because I was like, I had one more rep, and and I was like, oh man, I do not want to do this. Then all of a sudden my coach said, you have to hit 33 seconds on this 250 or you have to do another one.
Oh, I love that.
And my legs
I love that.
And my legs were so dead. And here's the problem. I had no idea how fast I had been running them. Like I didn't know what my previous times
You weren't
were.
clocking times.
She was.
Oh.
But she writes them down, and I go throw up in the garbage can and then get ready to do it again. And
Sounds about right.
So I had no idea how fast I had been running. Like I didn't know if I had been running 35s, 36s. Like if I had been running 33s, do I need to keep the same pace? Do I need to go faster? Do I need to go way faster? Like I had no idea. And I remember like I had like tears like in the back of my eyes. And I was like, am I going to make it through this? And I remember thinking to myself like, okay, Chari, I know you feel bad right now. Like I know you do. But think about how good you're going to feel when the competition comes right now. And so push yourself now so you don't push yourself later. And then when I was running, I was like, hey, do you want to do another one? No? Okay, you better run faster.
Yeah.
Because I knew that if I didn't hit it, she was going to make me do another one.
Yep.
But have the same fast time. So I was like, you may as well hit it now.
I had a feeling, I bet your coach that on purpose because like she knows you and she's like, Shari's going to go as hard as she can to make sure she hits this time.
And the thing that's crazy is she was like, because she's the best. She's like following me around the thing, like trying to yell at me, trying to like be like, you got this, like stay tall, stay tall. And
That's
I'm
awesome.
sure in her brain, she was like, this girl has no more left in her tank. Like I bet if there was some reason I died and she knew I gave it my all, she'd probably still not make me do another one. But like I hit the time, thank goodness. And I feel like there was no way I wasn't going to hit it because I was not about to like have to do another one. But man, like,
wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, the thing is like sometimes like that drive, like it comes from like a place like suffer now so you can like celebrate later kind of a thing.
Man. Well, dude, this has been a really good conversation. We've really touched on so much good stuff.
It's been less of a conversation and more of me. I can see myself in this window here. So me talking to myself.
No, it's good. And it's cool because like being around you, like intuitively, I can pick up a lot of like your mindset of like, I'm here to win and the things that you said, but it's cool to have you say them. And even just, I mean, everyone else, I'm glad they get stuff out of this, but for me personally, it's just nice to have that in the back of my mind of like, here's how champions think. Here's how like, they are. So
right.
Yeah, thank you for being on today. That was a blast.
Of course. And honestly, all of the people who are listening, like, Nate is such a bad A. Like, oh
my gosh.
Seriously, like he's not paying me that much to say this, but like,
or at all.
But I feel honestly like he works so hard. He pushes himself super hard. And like, I'm just like really happy you guys are listening to him because he has a lot of really good stuff to say. And he is a super inspiring guy. Honestly, he inspires me a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I was not ready for that. You're too kind.
He's slipping me a 20 right now.
Turns out it's 100.
No, I'm just kidding.
That's all good. Awesome, dude. Well, yeah, thank you so much for being on. Yeah, I think, as I said before, I have to do like a second round with like everyone on the show. So at some point, we're probably going to do a round 2.
Yeah.
Probably
of course.
after big spot next year when you find out how you did with all of your goals.
Heck yeah. So, that'd be awesome.
That'll be good. All right, dude. Thank you so much for being on.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for having me. Thanks for listening, you guys.
Yep. All right. We'll catch you later.